I'm going to talk about flow state and I guess going with the flow, which can be detachment in some cases. It will have to be. It's like space. There's space to get to the next thing. You got to be able to go through that space gracefully to go with the flow. That's part of having axiomatic, immutable, I guess, house, is that can go with the flow. And I saw that a long time ago. I had like this whole experience, awakening kind of thing. So what I chose to go with was the nothing. I didn't choose that because I didn't know about any books. I never read anything. I really didn't care about that stuff. I was like an atheist. I basically got my ass kicked by this crazy experience. I tried to deny it in every way I could and constantly throw it away. And the stuff just kept coming back, and I would see it in books and shit. And it was really weird. So, anyway, you see that the books are kind of like just interpretations of the nature and what is. And I wanted to get to, the what is, the mechanics behind all this books and illusion, which is like a living word, the mechanics of things. But I chose to go with the nothing, and so I could go with the flow even in spaces. So I was thinking of like unconditional. How can I stay unconditional? I wasn't even thinking of flow state, but I guess that's the symptom of being unconditional. Now, it's talked about as love and all kinds of other things, but it's more about being honest, being able to be accountable, and having your words match up with what you're trying to do in the long run so that you can flow through, from your start to end. And then that brings about a mastery. Once you get that, it explodes like a mastery. And it's not practice. All your things flow. It's like dancing or something. Once everything flows together, it's all muscle memory. You don't have to think about it. You're in like a different law than physics. And you see them gliding and floating and using all the momentum to do, the b-boy stuff. That's all outside physics. That's why it looks the way it does, because it's like anti-physical. It doesn't apply to the laws of physics that we classically know. So I could see that too, that physics wasn't real. That's how I started seeing all that stuff and feeling that. I feel it, and then I could see it in the music. It comes from the music. I was learning from the music, basically. And, a lot of things came together in this awakening, stuff I've been doing all my life, just to, like, entertain myself because it had gotten so, like, lonely and whatnot. So turn the loneliness into like a place of solitude, so that I'm able to do, tap into this nothing and transmute things, make like a seamless stream for myself. I guess is like what the hero's quest is or something. Maybe Jordan Peterson talks about. I don't know. I don't really get into that, but there's stories out there. You want to make like a seamless from the root, so it's like a plant so it can grow. Your fucking fruit and whatnot. So you gotta have a root, I guess, is a part of the philosophy there. The root seems like the survival basics. That's the only time duality comes up, or should come up, as an indefinite issue that we have to be attached to, is when food and shelter are taken away or jeopardized, which is the root chakra, the survival basics. The plain basics, simplicity. That's how I came up with simplicity a long time ago. See, I didn't read there was no Jordan Petersons back then or anything, and I didn't care about that. I didn't want to go find stuff and read. I've never been like that. I have like ADD, so reading for me is like really hard. It's difficult. I get like immensely bored with it. I mostly sit and listen to music. So there's a rhythm, a timing and placement in music, where, the timing and placement and dancing isn't on the clock. So I was like, that's not timing. The clock isn't timing. And if we follow this other kind of time, it leads to like anti-gravity type things and anti-physical type things that separates the illusion and relativism from actual real shit. Which is like, It really is. It's in the vibration of dance. So much shit. It's crazy. It's really fucking weird. Music. Not even just dancing, just music. And that's like excitatory gnosis is dancing. And, all this couldn't exist without the nothing. I learned this later. So, like, without spaces in the music or the zero, the rest, which is a Z, that you couldn't have any of this music or anything. We would all just be, like, stuck together and be one nasty sounding noise. It sounded like everything just crashing together. Probably make your head explode. So much information. So there's gotta be, like, space. And then I started to see, like, knowledge. Like, you can't, the way science goes, you can't learn all that's like death. You can't learn the universe. Your fucking head would explode to learn that much information. Like, and it's pointless to try and stick that much information in your brain because your mind isn't even here anyway. So what they're doing with robots and cyborg chips and Elon Musk, that guy he's confused by the Matrix. And, that's just what that is. And that happens when you don't have your third eye open. You don't see through the veils anymore. You don't have any foresight. You just live in this bubble of Matrix and apples that revolves around, like, knowledge and ego, possession, all kinds of matter, materialism. Doesn't revolve around the psychological plane at all. It's very flat. It's like the Deadlights. It's like master race Hitler robots. So you can see that and start putting clues together. And lo and behold, what's happening out there with the robots? It's like fucking banned, Twitter shut down, or, censoring bots, YouTube shut down because bots. Pretty crazy. So we're trying to appease this other dimension of alien things, which we think is a science, but it's not. It's like a poison. It's like walking into a Venus flytrap, fucking some alien machine, fucking flytrap. It's pretty crazy, and that's what's so fascinating about it. And I called it the machine back in like 2011. I started seeing this machine thing. It's like a construct we're imprisoned by that like runs off feelings and ego. They get you real charged up with your ego. Yeah, go out and then it's like you gotta defend your ego, and it's like you get slaughtered out there trying to do it the way they taught you at least, and then you have to defend that kind of shit, which is the flesh. I learned symptoms of the flesh and the garbs of the flesh, because you get all that stripped, and it's just matrix chaff relativism. At best, it just double binds people. You captivate people and double bind them, who can make the biggest Jim Jones spectacle. And that's like what pop culture disease is. It's all this like emphasis on popularity, and there's no freedom in that. There's no originality in that. It's like, plus we're all set for monkey see, monkey do, and emulation. And there's not a whole lot of new things left of that kind of world except like eating Tide Pods and making jokes about eating Tide Pods, which is just making more division and relativity. Why we think we're having a good time. So that's like clown culture. And that's what it is. It's like a matrix god. People worship as a real god. But it isn't. It's just illusion. And I think Jesus even says something like that in Aquarian Gospel, that it gives men apples. That's pretty much exactly what it is. But you can eat the apple. You don't get attached and like you just die to it. So you're like, eat the apple if you're dead. It's strange. The zero, but I went with the zero and nothing. It seemed to be like 0 point energy. The void. And I didn't plan this or anything ahead. I just ended up like this. I just had faith in the experience. Not that the experience had to be proved, that I could just see what it was and try to make sense of it. So it's made sense to me, at least in the way that I put it together. It doesn't matter. I do present it to other people, but I really don't care if they validate it. I'm just trying to make sense of of what's going on here, and it seems to be in synchronicity with what is going on here in a lot of ways. And I'm about to release a book soon, so I'll have that out. I never really got into making videos. I just wrote a book a long time ago, and finally put it all together. But still, like, bits and pieces over the years. I'm sure I'll write like another one or make some other kind of thing. And I treat it as like hobby, recreational shit. I don't get like attached to because that brings about competition and then haste, and that makes waste and sloppiness. And then you gotta start eating mistakes and shit like that. Then you gotta backtrack, and that's no way to get through like the conflict and problems. That actually sets us apart from our objectives, more space and time, which is problems down here. We see problems, but that's really space and time up above, because anything could be in there we don't know yet, and that'll all fall into place as we see below. As above, so below. Above is what the mind is connected to. Then below is physical manifestation, onward and upward. Goes back up and recycled in some manner. Like the figure 8 thing, I guess. That's what that's symbolic of. That's all. Flow state. Below, ST8. Flow, it's a state of being.